What's going on, guys? We're talking about Toronto Maple Leafs today. Coming for you, Steve Dangle. I'm watching you. What's going on, guys? And welcome to another episode of the Jersey Joe Show, a place where we talk about a little bit of everything, but mostly hockey. As I said, we're talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs today. One of the most fun teams to watch in the NHL right now for a number of different reasons. They got a ridiculous rookie class, now a sophomore class you can call it. But where exactly are they going to be going next year? So about 2 years ago, the Maple Leafs completely just bombed their whole team. They traded away a majority of their top line players, brought in some rookies, got first overall pick Austin Matthews, and were looking like they were about 3 or 4 years out from being a contender, at least 3 or 4, probably more. But this past season, with the likes of Austin Matthews and Nylander and Marner and Zaitsev and a whole host of other ridiculous rookies and fantastic core players, they made it to the playoffs and gave the Capitals a run for the money. Is this sustainable? Is this something they're going to carry into next season? I don't know. I really don't. I think the team as a whole is going to hit that sophomore slump, and I'll tell you why. So the reason players get into their sophomore slump, you have players that come in their rookie season and just absolutely light it up, and then the next season they're okay, they're decent, they're not that great. The reason for that is because when they come in, they're an unknown attribute. Other teams don't know how they shoot, they don't know what they look for, they don't have any film on them besides what they played in juniors. But now that they're in the NHL, they have a whole different system that they play with. They're a lot more unpredictable, and that unpredictability leads to a lot more points. Now, when you become a sophomore, you have a whole offseason to check out film on this new player. I'm sure before the games, coaches will look through the film, see what that player did against them last time or last season, see what they can do this time to kind of keep that player from doing that again this time around. And that's where you see the occurrence of the sophomore slump. You see players just learning how to defend these rookies or to even play against these rookies if they're defenders. So the sophomore slump is a very real thing, and the reason is because the league figures you out. Now with the Maple Leafs, I feel like they had an entire season as that unknown rookie kind of factor. They had the ability to really just play against teams, and teams had no idea how to contain them. They didn't know how to contain Matthews. They didn't know how to contain Marner. They had no idea how to beat their defensive core or beat Anderson. So the Maple Leafs did really well for themselves. They had 40 wins this season, and like I said, they made it to the postseason and took the Caps to 6 games, and a majority of the games were very close and went to overtime. So they could have easily been in the second round this offseason. They were that good, but going into next season, I do think teams are going to know that. They're going to expect the Maple Leafs to be good. They're not going to underestimate them, which I think had a lot to do with their success this year. And I think you're looking at a year that's maybe just as good, but I just don't think they can improve on it just yet. They have a lot of unknown factors going into next year. A lot of rookies who are now going to hit that sophomore slump. It's not a matter of mentality that the players have. It's not a matter of beginner's luck running out. It's literally that the league is figuring them out, and that's going to happen. The spotlight is on the Maple Leafs next year. They're going to have a bit of a tougher time getting the same success. So let's talk about this offseason. It was okay. I think with the Leafs, if you're Lou Lamoriello, you feel really comfortable with the core that you have now, with the forwards and the defense. It's more about developing that rather than bringing in extra assets. So the offseason they have is completely sufficient for what they need. It's not like they had a glaring need on defense or a glaring need on the wings that they need to fill in. They're pretty set. They're just young. And when you're young, it makes no sense to bring in assets that take away ice time. So they really just need to keep playing with the same team, the same core, and they'll be fine. But they did bring in some veteran leadership. The biggest offseason, the headline acquisition for the Leafs was picking up Patrick Marleau on a 2-year contract, who is up there in the years. He's close to 40. He has been playing for almost 2 decades now, so he's a veteran. I don't know how I feel about this. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to instill that veteran presence. Patrick Marleau went to the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years ago at San Jose. So he has that playoff experience, that deep playoff experience they need. But he's also, I believe, 37 years old now. He only had 42 points last year. Yeah, he had 27 goals, but he has a ridiculous cap hit right now, and it's not worth 42 points with those cap hits, especially they are 4th in goals for. If you're going to bring in a veteran presence or some kind of veteran leader, you need that on defense. You need that, and maybe even a backup goaltender, if anything, let alone now bringing in a 37-year-old forward on a ridiculously fast Toronto team. So I don't understand. It's not that I don't understand it. I get it. I just think it's too soon and the wrong player. But I do understand what they were trying to do. I just don't think it's gonna matter next year. I don't think he's gonna make or break the season for Toronto next year. And you are looking at some cap issues down the road. Thankfully, it's a 2-year contract. So after 2 years, he's gone. And they get that cap space back. They can then sign Matthews and Marner to much larger contracts than they have now. So it's one of those things where I feel like they just did it to do it. I think maybe they're trying to get Thornton as well, but I'm not seeing the logic. But I could be pleasantly surprised if he plays with this team and he clicks well. He could be another 50-60 point scorer, and that's going to win you a bunch of games that they didn't win last year, and that can take you to the second, even third round of the playoffs. So it's going to be a fun season to watch for sure. Toronto is one of the most fun teams. I enjoy watching all of their games. I enjoy watching the speed. It's like watching a brand new kind of hockey. It's this skill and speed that just takes over the whole game. And it's really, they are the definition of this new style of hockey. No more old role players or death players who really are only there for big bodies or be there to be physical. When you have all 4 lines and even your defense now, super speedy, super high agility, super good hands, it's a really fun team to watch. And because they're young, they tend to be a little bit more reckless. They tend to be a little more unpredictable. And that leads to some crazy games. They played against the Devils last year. I actually attended this game in person. They were up 3-0 in the second period. The Devils scored 3 goals in 10 minutes in the next 10 minutes. It's a 3-3 game. The Devils end up winning in a shootout. Like, it was a fantastic game. It was super exciting, even for a Devils game, I will admit. And that's something that the Toronto Maple Leafs do game in and game out. That's just the team they are now, and it's fantastic. And they have the best coach in the league. Mike Babcock, bar none, is the best NHL coach right now. The things he's been able to do with this team is phenomenal. He's been a fantastic coach for any team he's been with, and he's really turning the Leafs into a force. And so when you have all of these different pieces coming together the way they are now, it makes sense that they've had the success they had last season. It makes sense that they came within 1 game of being in, or 2 games, I should say, to facing Pittsburgh in the second round, and that would have been a fantastic series. Toronto's definitely gonna be successful. I just don't know if they can reach the level they did this season, just because they're not ready yet. They have a lot left to really prove, and a lot of development left. So some of the lesser known acquisitions, I guess you can say, was that of Ron Hainsey and Dominic Moore. Ron Hainsey just coming off of a Stanley Cup win with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Again, some veteran presence, some veteran leadership. And then Dominic Moore is a fantastic 4th-line center. He's a great face-off guy. He's a lot like Vern Fiddler. He's really just there for face-offs and to really be a defensive center for that 4th line. He's not going to be putting up points. He's not going to be driving the play. But when you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you have that kind of defensive center in your 4th line, it takes some of the pressure off of Matthews. It takes some of the pressure off their 2nd and 3rd line centers like Kadri and whoever they have on their 2nd line. And I like those pickups because they're cheap. They're not going to break the bank. They're not going to really mess with your roster too much. Because now Brian Boyle is gone. He's on the Devils now. So Dominic Moore is really just a replacement for Boyle. And the only other departure was that of Roman Polak. And he's older, he's slower, he's not really fitting with the defensive core. So it makes sense that they let him go. So, again, it wasn't a great offseason. Not a lot happened besides the signing of Marleau, but the Leafs don't really need a lot of outside help right now. They just need to develop from within. They have a great core. They have a wonderful future ahead of them, and I'm looking forward to seeing them win a cup within the next few years. I really do think that this is the best Toronto team we're going to see, at least as long as I've been around, at least in 20 years. And I do think they're going to make a run for the cup around the same time that Edmonton does. And you're going to see some Connor McDavid versus Austin Matthews cups, and it's going to be fantastic. So like I said, this is my 31 teams in 31 days series. I'm doing one of these every single day. So tune in tomorrow for my next video, and make sure you like and subscribe down below. And I'll see you guys soon. Take care.